Welcome in, guys. Breaking down Week 11 college football. Big slate this week. 14 games. 13, I think. I think one was canceled. The Cal-USC game. So going to be a fun one to break down. I'm going to do exactly what I did last week and go through, not game by game, but I'm going to talk about stacks. And then I'm going to get in and talk about position by position. So give kind of just an overview of the matchup here. If you have not checked us out over at Patreon, be sure to do so. $10 for one sport, $20 for all sports each month, covering tons of sports right now. NFL, PGA, college football, college basketball just started back up. UFC, Kenny is covering that. Got tons going on right now. So be sure to check that out. If you want to try out Prize Picks, I know a lot of our members use that. Use the promo code Jaeger, 100% match bonus up to $100 there. And then also same code with Fanshare Sports. They have an NFL and PGA optimizer, ownership projections. Very good sites, so be sure to check them out as well. Ohio on the move. Oh, I'm on the move. Yes, another week on the road. Let's hop right in here. So you share the sheet. I'm on the wide receiver tab. All right. So these odds a little dated. I'm going to update them as soon as I get off the show. But as you can see, we're going to look for the highest totals, obviously, first for a full-on game stack. That's really what I want to talk on this page of the sheet is the game stack. So if you look in the early games, OU Baylor 62.5 total, that's a candidate for sure. UCF SMU 61.5. That's a 7-point spread. Not quite as high on that one as I would be Oklahoma Baylor. Let's see, Miami Florida State. That's one of my favorites of the day actually. 61 total, 2.5-point favorite is Miami. I like that game. I'll get into both sides of it today, but that is actually going to be my favorite full-on game stack today. Then we have Purdue and Ohio State, 63 total, 21-point favorite for Ohio State. Sorry about that, guys. 1 second. I'm going to mute myself. All right. So Ohio State is he said, go Buckeyes. I don't think I heard that one, but we'll go with that. So Ohio State is a 63 total, 21-point favorites. So, again, they're in a good spot. Got to like some of those Ohio State guys today. And then finally, last game with over 60 total is Maryland and Michigan State. I think that one's going to be a popular game today. So we can definitely go to that. I'll get into both sides that I like in that game as well once we get to those players. So hopping right into the quarterbacks tab. Up at the top, Caleb Williams and 10,000, 9,400. Both, I think you got her for GPPs with those prices. There's some guys I'll get to in a minute that are cheaper plays that I really like this week. So 9,400 and 10,000. Not sure I'll get there in my main lineup today. Last week we kind of jammed in the two high-priced quarterbacks, Howe being one of those for North Carolina and Hartman for Wake Forest. But this week I'm not really liking that route. You can definitely play one of those guys, Williams or Stroud, depending on who you want to pair him up with. You can definitely play both sides. Again, like I just talked about in the game stack, you can play Aiden O'Connell with Stroud. He's 5,400. I think he's in play as a value quarterback. And you could also play Caleb Williams with Gary Bohannon, who's a little higher priced at 7,200. if you want to go that route today against OU as well. Dropping down just below those guys, the fourth price quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke, who stepped in for De'Aaron King at Miami, has looked pretty good. 8,000 against Florida State. I think that's a nice price for him today. I will be definitely playing him and pairing him up with some of these receivers we'll get to in a minute. But there's some cheaper value plays in that receiving core that we can pair him up with. And like I mentioned, I think Miami, Florida State is my favorite full-on game stack. And what you can do is play him with Jordan Travis. I need to check on the news for Jordan Travis, who's coming back from an illness. Make sure that he is in, obviously, before lock. We got a couple hours there. See how warm-ups and things are going. But 6,900, we know he's got rushing upside, 340 rush yards on the year, 4 TDs. Going up against a horrid Miami pass defense. I know Jordan Travis, you're not really playing him for his passing, but you can definitely pair him up if you want to with somebody. So, kind of sandwiched in the middle, I've already mentioned him a little bit, Gary Bohannon, 7,200 against OU. Going to be behind, I would think, and OU's pass defense has not been good, as you can see, 113 against the pass for Oklahoma. You can definitely pair him up with a guy like Taekwon Thornton, would be my favorite pairing. So Bohannon is definitely in play for GPPs. And then there's 3 value quarterbacks that I like. One is Talia Tagovailoa, 5,900. Going to be pretty chalky against Michigan State, who we've just seen get lit up through the passing game. They throw a lot of volume, high volume passing attack for Maryland. As you can see, they're 14th in the country in passing. Michigan State 130 defense against the pass. So definitely got to like him. Pair him up with Raheem Jarrett. We'll get to those receivers here in a minute. But Sean Clifford is another one. Would be my third favorite of these 3 value quarterbacks. Can play Jahan Dotson with him, but the price tag is good. The matchup is not as good as either one of these guys. As you can see, Michigan 8th against the pass, so don't love it. And then Aiden O'Connell for Purdue going up against Ohio State. Mentioned him briefly. They throw it at a very high rate. As you can, 58.8% of their plays this year have been passes. They're 8th in the country passing and going up against the 94th ranked pass defense in Ohio State. Nice little run back there if you think Ohio State gets out in front early and they are passing to come back. There's some definite options in that receiving core to pair with O'Connell. David Bell being number 1. He's one of my favorite wide receivers today. I'll get to them in just a minute. If you all have any questions, be sure to drop those in the chat. I'll check back periodically on this page and see if I can answer those for you. So that's kind of the quarterback pool for me today. Van Dyke and Jordan Travis in the mid-range and up top. And then the values, Tagovailoa and O'Connell would be my favorites there. And then you can mix and match Stroud and Williams for GPPs. The running back position, I like a lot of these higher price guys. I'll get to the receivers here in a minute. I like the mid-range, or not the very top of the receiving pool this week. So that would allow us to get at least one of these top receivers in there, especially with the value quarterbacks today. Breese Hall is interesting, 9,500. Obviously has tons of value. His projection is outrageous today. Projected for about 30, almost 31. And the projections are up to date, except for I think some of the value receivers. And I need to go through the guys that I don't have highlighted and make sure those are up. But the guys that I have highlighted as plays in any form or fashion, their projections are updated now. It takes a little bit of manual work at this point. in the sheet. So Kenneth Walker, we know he gets tons of volume going up against Maryland. I think that's a good matchup. Looking for the bounce back for Michigan State today. 8,900. Trevion Henderson. Actually, is not my favorite of this top range. I do like Ohio State today, but I'll get to the passing game that I like quite a bit. The guy below him is actually going to be my favorite of this upper tier, and it's Braylon Allen for Wisconsin. Got a little bit of injury, help to get some more playing time for Braylon Allen, who is going to push into this a featured role now. 8,200. Obviously, we know Wisconsin loves to run the ball. They run it 67% of the time. 124th against the run is Northwestern here. So gotta love Braylon Allen. I would expect him to be fairly popular in this game. Jalen Knighton, I mentioned Miami and Florida State being one of my favorite matchups. He gets involved in the passing game work as well as the running game. Has looked very good since he stepped into this advanced role as well. So that's, like I said, grab one of these guys for sure in each lineup and go from there. You can definitely go two of them or one in a value play. Hassan Haskins would get helped if Blake Corum is actually ruled out. Don't love Haskins today against Penn State, who's kind of middle of the road in the country, but Michigan is a very good run offense, and if he's going to be the main back and not split 50-50 with Corum, I think you can definitely consider him. Jashawn Corbin for Florida State in that game that I really like, 7,000, gets involved in the passing game, so you got to like him a little bit as well for GPPs. And then it really just drops down to a couple value guys. Dylan Johnson for Mississippi State, who obviously we know their running backs get tons of passing game work. So you're going to see a pretty good floor from Dylan Johnson at 3,900. I think that makes quite a bit of sense. Averaging 5 receptions a game and 30 yards. I mean, that's 8 DK points without even touching the running game. Obviously, he's not running for 7 for 32 on average, but gotta love the passing game work for a running back. And then I'm not even going to try to pronounce this last name. Kyle M. we'll go with for Rutgers. 3,600 for him. Really just a sprinkle for GPPs going up against this Indiana defense. Should have an advanced role as well. So that's kind of the running back pool. Again, love these top price guys. Grab one or two in your lineups. Letty Brown, yeah. I don't really like Letty today. Where is he? He's definitely cheaper than normal. Kansas State, the matchup is not good. They have not been able, West Virginia that is, to run the ball this year. I mean, it's just not been good from Letty Brown. He does get some passing game work, which boosts his floor a little bit, averaging 3 for 18 in the receiving game. But, man, this is brutal. 11 touchdowns on the year, but 16 carries, almost 17 on average for 74 yards, 666 yards rushing on the year. And a lot of that was on one carry against Virginia Tech. He had like a 8-yard touchdown on the first play. So that even boosts his rates there. I just don't like him. 6,100, sure, take a shot on him, I guess, for GPPs. But this Kansas State run defense is nothing to scoff at. So he will not be in my pool today at 6,100. Moving on to the receiving pool. Like I said, a lot of weeks I like the very high-priced receivers. Not so much this week. Jahan Dotson, I think, is definitely in consideration, even in a tough matchup. You can pair him up, like I mentioned, with Sean Clifford. 8,800, though, is 800 more than any other receiver. Charleston Rambo is number 2, I think, is definitely in play there at 8,000. I didn't have him highlighted, but for GPPs, you could go to Charleston Rambo. But I do like the cheaper receivers in this game, this Miami-Florida State game more, and I'll get to those here in a minute. Jackson Smith and Jigba had the massive game last week. Garrett Wilson should be back. So I'm staying away from an inflated $7,800 price tag for Njigba. Makai Polk, kind of like the running back Dylan Johnson for Mississippi State, has a solid floor, 10 for 80. Or let's see here. Not 10 for 80. 80 yards per game on average. Looking at 7-8 receptions is kind of his floor. Obviously, in the high volume passing attack, 71% pass rate for Mississippi State. You could consider him, but 7,600 is a little high for me. So I'm not going to be considering him in like a single entry. Danny Gray, Garrett Wilson at 71 and 9,000. In play for GPPs, Danny Gray's a big play threat for SMU. Garrett Wilson should be back. But the guy that I really like for Ohio State is going to be Chris Olave, who's now down at 6,600. I'll hop there if he's going to be the third priced Ohio State receiver today. Love Chris Olave. Love David Bell at 6,700. I mentioned Aiden O'Connell. Really like that pairing today. David Bell is down at sub 7K just because he's playing Ohio State, I guess. I'll definitely take that because Ohio State is not the toughest matchup through the air. And if they're going to be throwing a lot because they're down, you can bet that I'm going to be playing David today. Taekwon Thornton, pair him up with Gary Bohannon, 6,800. Like him, I really like this mid-range of receivers, this 6K wide receiver range. Marvin Mims for Oklahoma has come on strong with Caleb Williams. That seems an interesting pairing there. So you can go there. Ezukama, 6,500. Don't love it, but in play for GPPs. And then Jaden Reed would get a big bump if Jalen Naylor is out. And that's a game that could shoot out. As I mentioned before, Kenneth Walker, Jaden Reed are definitely the favorite too for Michigan State. And then for Maryland, I'll get to their receivers here in just a minute. But Talia, like I mentioned, on the other side there as well. Definitely want to watch the news on Jalen Naylor. If he's in, it does hurt Jaden Reed a little bit, but he could still be in play for GPPs at this price tag of 6,100. Brock Bowers, GPP play, tight end for Georgia. Cornelius Johnson, GPP play for Michigan. Keyshawn Smith is a Miami receiver at 5,100 that I am considering. And then Bo Melton has a pretty big projection. Number one receiver for Rutgers. Definitely in play as more of a value type guy for Rutgers at an 18 projection at 5,000. Gotta like that. Indiana is 97th against the pass, so they get him involved as much as they can. So gotta like him. For Maryland, Carlos Carrier, 4,700. Just a GPP option. Ty Freifogel on the other side of that Rutgers Indiana game is very cheap. I mean, used to what we're seeing him in the 6 to 7K range, especially early in the year. Only GPP though with an uncertain QB situation. Rakeem Jarrett, 4,500. Love him today to pair him with Talia. You don't have to pair him with Talia. You can play him alone, obviously. Big projection in a game going up against a horrid Michigan State fast defense. I hate when Mississippi State and Michigan State are on the same slate. But Rakeem Jarrett and Mike Harley are the two at in the $4,000 range that I really liked today. Mike Harley is my favorite pairing on that Miami side. So 4,200 is a steal for him in that matchup. Love both of those. You might end up seeing me with both in a core type there. So Jackson Anthrop is another guy, 4,200 for Purdue. Compare him up with O'Connell if you want to go there. Some injury news, speaking of Purdue, that we're watching is the tight end. And where did he go? Payne Durham, who's had a pretty good year, 3,800. If he is out, we can go back to their value. Let's see here. Garrett Miller, I'm going to list him as a GPP play right now because that is all contingent on Payne Durham being out. But if Payne Durham is out, like I said, you can go down to Garrett Miller, who has looked pretty good with Payne Durham out. Finishing up the value plays, Mario Williams, 4,000 is a good play for Oklahoma. Got to like that price tag. Keegan Johnson for Iowa, in play, not my favorite by any means. Donnie Mitchell for Georgia, definitely in play at 3,500, going up against Tennessee, who's not been very good at all against the pass. I mentioned Garrett Miller. Shameen Jones for Rutgers is just very cheap at 3,100. Obviously, I like Bo Melton quite a bit more at 5,000. So that's kind of my pull for today. Jalen Naylor did not make the trip with the team. Okay, so that's good news there. Let me go ahead and mark him off. I need to go through the news site and just double check. I'll update the sheet there. So that definitely solidifies Jaden Reed as a play. Yeah, Olave is a steal as the third priced Ohio State receiver. No, I don't play FanDuel. I know you don't play FanDuel, but is there anyone you would prioritize today? Let's see here. Let me pop back to the quarterbacks. I know they have some of the night games on, which is, for me, is just annoying that they spread it out through the whole day. But Jordan Travis, 6,800 is very fair on FanDuel for him. So he would be my favorite value quarterback. Yeah, he's priced higher or lower than Talia, Clifford, and O'Connell, who I like as values on DraftKings. So Jordan Travis is definitely first guy that pops out to me on here. Van Dyke's 9,700. Bohannon 87 is a fair price for sure. I'm looking here, and then I'm going to pull up FanDuel here on my phone just to see the night games and see what those prices are. Let's see. So the running backs, Breese Hall is very high. Of course, Braylon Allen not on the slate. Let's see. Hassan Haskins, 82. I think Kenneth Walker is for GPPs in play. Trevion Henderson, I like that price tag more. FanDuel at 9,500, priced down a little below some of these other guys by quite a bit. Jalen Knighton is very close in this situation there. So again, you're going to want those top guys. Let's see here. Jahan Dotson, 8,900 on FanDuel. Man, Olave, 9,100 on FanDuel. That's brutal. And Jigba, 7,800. Let's see. David Bell, I mean, you got to prioritize him. 8,700, one of my favorite receivers on the slate. Jaden Reed, 8,300. Sure. I mean, he's obviously a much better play on DraftKings. Let's see here. Bo Melton not on the slate. Man, that's brutal. Rakeem Jarrett, 6,500. Gotta like him for sure, just like I do on DraftKings. And then Mike Harley, 6,200. So both of those, I still like both on FanDuel as well. But again, I would definitely prioritize the Jordan Travis price of 6,800. It should allow you to get some of those top running backs in there and things like that. Let's see. Just trying to pull up the night games. The night games that they have, my phone is very slow at loading. Looks like they have Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Notre Dame, and Virginia, Wake Forest, NC State. So they got some good for sure. Let's look at some of those totals. Definitely are going to want higher totals in those. Virginia obviously has a good offense. Let's see here. So of the late games, Texas A&M, Ole Miss is only a 57.5 total. Notre Dame, Virginia, 63. So like that game, definitely with Brennan Armstrong. Let's see what he's priced at on there. 10-8. Is he questionable? FanDuel says he's questionable. Game time decision this week. So that's interesting. Definitely watch out for that. Wake Forest and NC State is a 64.5 total. That should be a very good game. Only a 1-point spread. I'm going to like Hartman again. Let's see what Hartman is. Hartman is 11,000. Oh, gosh. And then let's see what their receivers are. A.T. Perry and Roberson are both over 9K. Okay, so that pricing is tough for Wake Forest. TCU, Oklahoma State, 54. So, yeah, there's definitely some news to watch on the night games. Those are where I would prioritize early. Jordan Travis, get one of those top receiver or running backs, just like I was talking about on the DraftKings slate. Late, but you're here. That's what we like. Need a cheap flex on DK. Would you rather play Garrett Miller if Durham is in instead of Shameen Jones? No. If Durham is in, Garrett Miller is completely out of play for me. So I would like Shameen Jones more in that scenario. It's kind of tough pickings down that low. I think he's definitely my favorite. Let me scroll back down here. Yeah, Shameen Jones is definitely my favorite. But I would not play, I think, a Donnie Mitchell. Do you have enough for 3,500 in that? Because a Donnie Mitchell would be my favorite at that mid 3K price tag instead of Shameen Jones. That's how I'd rank those. But if he is out, if Durham is out, Garrett Miller becomes one of the top two, along with Adani. 3,300 left. So, yeah, I would go Shameen Jones, and maybe you'll get the news that Durham is out. But I would not go to Garrett Miller if he is in. If Corum is out, is Haskins a lock? No, not for me. He's in play more. Definitely comes into tougher to pass on consideration, but he is not a lock for me by any means with these other running back options up there. I just don't think the matchup is good enough against Penn State to say he's a lock. But he's definitely becomes one of the top options. He would flip from a GPP play to a green core option for me for sure. Paid up for running back and one wide receiver. Yeah. Yeah, again, Shameen Jones is definitely my favorite down at that price tag. So if there's not any more questions, I'm going to hop off here. I will be in chat. Be sure to tag me. I might not be in it all the way through lock. So be sure to tag with questions in our Discord. If you want to ask me something, I will have my rankings up here in probably 5 to 10 minutes on the sheet as well on the top targets tab. So be sure to check that out. Thanks you all for joining. We'll be back next week. See if we can continue to pick some winners. Let's have a good day today. Good luck, everybody.